my name is Tanisha J. Welcome to Cosmic Roots Alchemy, where we read the cosmic code written along the soul's path. If this is your first time here, come in, get comfortable, and settle into the energy. And if you're returning, welcome back. Let's continue another divine journey together. Before we begin our reading, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. This reading is for spiritual insight and reflection only. Tarot and astrology are interpretive tools of conversation and not professional advice, facts, or truth. Please use discernment, take what resonates, and leave what does not. All messages are shared with the intention of healing, awareness, and collective growth. Now let's begin today's reading. We are reading the Cosmic Code natal chart of Martin Luther King Jr. Today, we will explore Dr. King's chart through an ancestral lens. Ancestral astrology is not simply about the family history. It explores how inherited experiences, collective memory, and spiritual responsibility may move through generations. In Dr. King's chart, a clear theme emerges: remembrance, a journey from hidden memory to collective awakening. And the story begins in the 12th house. The 12th house is the ancestral agenda where the ancestors speak. The 12th house is the hidden realm. It governs ancestral memory, collective suffering, spiritual inheritance, and the unconscious patterns carried through the generations. And here, when we begin Dr. King's chart, one thing becomes clear. Something within a lineage was ready to awaken. Uranus in Aries enters like sacred fire. Uranus in Aries enters like sacred fire. Aries is the pioneer, the one willing to move first and break from old patterns. In the 12th house, Uranus becomes ancestral disruption. The silence, grief, and survival strategies carried through generations could no longer remain hidden. Uranus says the cycle cannot continue unchanged. But Jupiter and Chiron and Taurus reveal the deeper wound. Because the pain was not only oppression, the pain was a disconnection from value. Chiron and Taurus speaks to inherited wounds and surrounding worth, security, labor, and the right to benefit from one's own contributions. Jupiter expands the wisdom hidden within the wound, and the wisdom is profound. The lineage was never without value. What was distorted was the recognition of that value. The chart points towards an ancestral remembering, a call to reclaim what was always there. And the 12th house intention becomes clear. Wake the lineage up to its worth, not by creating value, but remembering it. And to wake the lineage up, we have to navigate to the 8th house. The 8th house is where excavation to the revelation. In the 8th house, it is Saturn and Lilith in Sagittarius. The 12th house revealed what was hidden, but hidden truth alone does not transform a lineage. It must be uncovered. This is the work of the 8th house. The 8th house governs ancestral inheritance, transformation, hidden systems, and rebirth. Saturn in Sagittarius enters like an ancestral elder carrying a historical record. Sagittarius governs belief systems, education, philosophy, religion, and historical truth. And Saturn asks, what stories has the lineage inherited about itself? Which beliefs are rooted in truth? And which were shaped by systems that benefited from us forgetting? Lilith in Sagittarius refuses silence, challenging distorted narratives and demanding a deeper understanding of history. Together, Saturn and Lilith offer a powerful instruction. Study your history, reclaim your philosophy, learn the truth about what your lineage built. Because once the false narratives collapse, the karmic pattern begins collapsing with it. The 8th house does not liberate gently. It liberates completely. Every inherited belief about worth, value, and identity must be examined at the root, dismantled, laid bare, and transformed. And only then can the ninth house speak. Because the hidden truth of the 12th house, excavated from the transformation of the 8th house, becomes the wisdom in the ninth. The ninth house governs wisdom, meaning, and higher understanding. And the sun in Capricorn illuminates everything it touches. Capricorn, the builder, the architect, the legacy maker, the revelation becomes clear. The lineage was never defined solely by what it endured. It was also defined by what it created. The ninth house becomes the rebirth of belief, a new philosophy rooted in ancestral truth rather than inherited limitation. And with that truth being founded, we go into the 10th house, where the 10th house has Mercury in Aquarius. And by the time we reach the 10th house, the truth has been remembered. The wisdom has been formed. But wisdom that remains private cannot transform a community. It must be spoken. This is where Mercury in Aquarius enters. The 10th house governs legacy, public influence, and the message a person leaves behind. Mercury is the voice. Aquarius is the liberator, the one willing to change inherited systems of thought through Mercury in Aquarius. Dr. King's voice becomes more than personal expression. It became a vehicle for collective awakening, a message that challenged narratives of limitation and expanded what people believed was possible. The truth uncovered in the 12th house was no longer hidden. It was spoken, shared, carried into the world. But the message was never meant to end with one voice. It was meant to become a movement. This is where the 11th house begins to speak. The 11th house governs community, collective vision, and the future line. With the moon and Venus in Pisces, the community is invited into the remembrance. The moon carries memory, the emotional inheritance of the lineage. Venus reminds the collective of its inherent beauty, dignity, and interconnectedness. Together, these placements suggest that the future is not built through division. It is built through remembering our shared humanity. The voice of the 10th house becomes the vision of the 11th. What begins as ancestral remembrance becomes collective awakening. And with that collective awakening comes through the embodiment of the first house. The first house is the house of survival, but it has an access connected to the 7th house, because this is where the Nodal Axis is. This is where we see the karmic evolution of the lineage. And we see it because the 11th house revealed the future line, but the Nodal Axis revealed how the future becomes possible. The South Node in Scorpio in the 7th house carries the memory of what the lineage already knew. The inherited experience of power imbalance, hidden trauma, silence, fear, and survival. Scorpio remembers what was buried, the grief, the secrets, the stories passed through generations. And many of those stories were shaped by narrators who benefited from us forgetting, who defined the lineage through its wounds rather than its contributions. The South Node says this is the memory the lineage carries, but the soul did not arrive to repeat that memory. The soul arrived to evolve it. This is where the North Node in Taurus in the first house becomes significant. The first house is the house of incarnation, the point where spirit takes form and enters the world. And with the North Node here, Dr. King's life becomes more than a personal journey. It becomes the embodiment of the lineage's next evolutionary step. Taurus calls the soul back to value, back to dignity, back to what is endured and inherently worthy. The message is no longer we are what happened to us. The message becomes we are what has always been valuable within us. The South Node in Scorpio remembers the wound, and the North Node in Taurus remembers the worth. And through his life, voice, and legacy, Dr. King embodied that transition. In closing, as we close, let's return to the path revealed through the houses. In the 12th house, the ancestors spoke first. In the 8th house, hidden truths were excavated. In the 9th house, those truths became wisdom. In the 10th, wisdom found its voice. In the 11th house, the community carried that voice into the future. And through 1st and 7th house axis, and through the 1st and 7th house nodal axis, we witnessed the deeper purpose of the journey. A movement from inherited survival to embodied value. From remembering the wound to remembering the worth, the ancestors remembered. The messenger spoke. The community awakened. The lineage evolved. And perhaps that is the enduring lesson of this chart. To know where we come from, to reclaim what was forgotten, and to embody what has already been ours. We stand in gratitude for Dr. Martin Luther King, and we thank you for your service. We thank you for everything that you have done in creating a pathway for us to continuously know our worth and to stand in it. I thank you for staying here and listening and taking time to the astrology natal chart of Dr. Martin Luther King through the ancestral lens. And I hope you return back. And until next time, stay rooted.